Aaron Tuttle here. It's storm season in Oklahoma, and with that comes torrential rain, high winds, and hail. To protect your home and your family from these threats, the one roofing company you should trust is Ferguson Roof Systems. They've been providing the best in roofing services for nearly half a century. Ferguson is Oklahoma's full-service roofing company, certified with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and a 5-star rating on Google. And with Ferguson now offering Class 4 impact-resistant shingles, now is the time to trust them with your home's roof. Get started today at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey everyone, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle with you. It is about 9:25 on your Sunday evening. I've been in the weather center all day, doing some work around the house and doing some other project stuff. Keeping an eye on the radar. Earlier this afternoon, there was one storm there that tried to get a little carried away, had a wall cloud with it and a brief funnel. Never touched down that I'm aware of, at least in the storm reports, and kind of watched the rest of the storms. They all kind of fizzled, so really wasn't much to write home about. Then there was a storm down in southern Oklahoma and into North Texas that also had some rotation with us watching that one. So we'll take a look at that, just kind of show you what's the latest with it and what your forecast is for the weeks. We got got some snow back in it. That's the way it goes, right? I see you out there in Mustang, Jim and the rest of the crew. There's Lisa there. McIntosh is checking in. So is Tuttle, Blanchard, and more. Good to see you guys. Brenda from Oakwood. And yeah, a little bit of lightning out there. So thanks for tuning in there on YouTube. Also on Rumble, thanks for coming in. And also on Facebook as well. So always glad to have you guys with me. All right, let's take a look at, of course, out there currently, it's, well, depends on where you are. You're probably cloudy. Maybe I have some rain in your area. I'm about 60 degrees, so it is kind of cool for me. But I didn't really get a whole lot. It was kind of sprinkled, and that was about it. It wasn't even enough, I don't think, to measure. Did it even measure at all? Nah. I literally had like 2 or 3 spits. No, that was it. That was lame. That's the way it goes sometimes. All right, let's take a look at the radar view across the state. And right now, we do have some rainfall stretching from around the Tulsa area, northeastern Oklahoma, back into Bristow, Shamrock, Seminole, Maud, down here to Byers, Pauls Valley, Wynnewood, and then down here to far southern Oklahoma, you finally get something that's a little on the severe side. And so you have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect down here for the Ardmore area, just north and west of you towards Springer. This particular thunderstorm that has just a little bit of hail with it, it's on the borderline of being severe as far as the hail size is concerned. So this is the one, though, that had prior rotation with it, but it never produced a tornado or anything. If it was going to, I would have cut in and warned for you, but I just was watching it. It does have a lot of mid-level rotation with it, though, and so it's a healthy thunderstorm down here. And hence, it's going to have the hail and some pockets of some wind. Movement on this has been kind of to the east at about 30 miles per hour. So the threat there is for max hail size around 1 inch, wind gusts up around 60. All right, down south and west from that, another similar story with this guy here. This one is also kind of in an area where it's just going to produce some brief heavy rain, a little bit of hail, maybe just a little bit of wind. There's a time of arrival here over the next half hour down here across far southern Oklahoma. In this particular case here, also moving to the east at about 49 miles per hour. Same kind of threats along with that. So really, again, no tornado threat with this. I did notice, though, in our forecast discussion we had Saturday night, how I kind of favored that area into southern Oklahoma for a potential for a tornado down here, and it certainly did try it. It may have touched down across the border into Texas, so we'll have to see what the storm reports say down here. Matter of fact, I might switch over just to see if there's anything on here recently. Let's see, there's a wall cloud that was in the prior data from the prior storms. Nothing here on these recent ones. Let's see here. Let me go back. See if anything new popped up. So anyway, this activity has been making its way, as you can see, eastward. So North Texas themselves, across Red River, will still get a few of these little thunderstorms rolling through overnight tonight. And there's quite a bit of lightning with them. The severity or the magnitude of that will continue to slowly diminish, though. So the probability of a tornado developing or anything like that is becoming less and less with time. So as we go through the next couple of hours, it's not completely zero, but it's pretty low. But that would be the area you would focus on from pretty much the I-35 corridor here for the next couple of hours as they roll through. Then they kind of get out of the moisture instability axis, and the shear isn't quite as good by that point in time. So they should slowly kind of lose their intensity just a little bit. All right, let's take a look at what else is going on. Let me see what I want to show you. This will be the forecasted from the model data here for the remainder of tonight. So here at 10 o'clock, you can see those showers and storms stretching from around the Oklahoma City metro area southward and eastward, again toward east of Tulsa by that point in time. At 11 o'clock, same kind of story. As we head into the midnight hour, see there's still a little bubbling of some showers and storms south and east of Oklahoma City metro. So again, we don't get a whole lot of action here for this evening and tonight. Most of us can be off to our south and east. There's 1 o'clock in the morning, still ongoing down there in North Texas, the I-35 corridor, and then points toward McAllister and Muskogee. And that kind of anchors itself down there overnight tonight. 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, still getting those showers and thunderstorms in that area. Into the daybreak hours, kind of lining out. So usually when you get a configuration like this, you'll eventually get some pockets of wind and hail out of it. But that's early in the morning hours through 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m. So still raining quite significantly there in southeast Oklahoma. And then it finally kind of wraps up by the time we head to lunchtime. Now you do see the rest of the state pretty quiet. You see this big blue area though, north and west? Do you know what all that is? That's snow. And then we have a resurgence of some thunderstorms developing pretty much right along north and south of Highway 75 from Bartlesville to Tulsa down to McAllister between Paris and Sherman. So it looks like we'll have a little line of thunderstorms that develop. These should be on the marginally severe category at 5 and 6 o'clock, moving through the eastern fourth or fifth of the state by that point in time, and then leaving the state by into Arkansas by the time we head into the evening hours. And there's still some wraparound snow flurries up here across Kansas and parts of Oklahoma. So what that looks like here, if you look at the blue shading, so green will be rain, there's that blue for snow for tomorrow morning in northwestern areas of Oklahoma, stretching into Kansas and the Texas Panhandle. So all that blue stuff is snow. If you notice, there's a few flurries down here in western Oklahoma, northwest Oklahoma through Monday evening as well. And then as we head into the overnight period from Monday night around midnight, look at this. It even has a few flurries trying to work their way here into the Oklahoma City metro area. If you're out and about, you might even see one. Otherwise, more light snow up here across southern Kansas for overnight Monday night and Tuesday. And that little system is finally out of here. So it's just kind of wild to see a little bit of snow. And there's actually a little bit more in the forecast after that one. But for right now, I'll show you the temperatures for tomorrow. So it will be a little on the cool side as we kickstart our work week. So we'll be in the 50s and 60s across central and eastern Oklahoma for most of the day. Western Oklahoma, of course, will be into the 40s, dropping into the 30s in the Panhandle. And then for the evening hours on Monday, the cooler weather does start to filter in a little bit more. So by the time we head toward the midnight hour, back into the 30s here in central Oklahoma. Of course, it's been in the 30s in the Panhandle all day. And then as we head into the overnight period into Tuesday morning, this is where we have to worry about a freeze. So there will be a freeze across many areas here across central, northern, western, maybe even northeastern Oklahoma. And then we'll warm things up for Tuesday afternoon. Be quite chilly though. How about that? Temperatures only into the 50s. So if you try to put away your sweaters and jackets and coats and stuff, you might still want them for the short term. Also on the docket we talked about was the significant rainfall amounts. So I'll show you that. So if you look down here into southeast Oklahoma, these amounts are up around 1 to maybe 2 inches of rainfall overnight tonight into tomorrow. And then, of course, could add a little bit more to that for that late Monday afternoon period. And then this precipitation totals up here into northwest Oklahoma is really just for the snow accumulations where you could see, let me see here. I went with, let's go snowfall total here. So looks like up to about 1-2 inches, maybe a little bit more once you get out closer to the Colorado border. So some pretty decent snow in that area of the state. So I did do this on a blog this evening. So I also wrote a blog while I was babysitting the radar, as we call it here in the weather world. So little spring snow and several freezes is the title of the blog here for your Sunday. I do these every Sunday, typically in the afternoon. Sometimes if I'm running lakes and doing two other things, I don't get it out to the Sunday evening. But in there, I've got the radar animation for tonight's event, snowfall totals for Monday, rainfall totals also. And then here's that next little system that comes in for late Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. This little lift right here in the atmosphere, these little red areas, indicates mid-level lift. We're going to squeeze out probably some more snow and a little bit of sprinkle activity early Wednesday morning here across parts of the northwestern quadrant of the state. Probably some sprinkles here for the southwestern quadrant. Oklahoma City, I don't know. It'll be a little dry for us. We might squeeze something out of it. It's not going to accumulate to anything, but just something to see. And then temperatures, like we mentioned, will be cold. So again, the blue areas where you see widespread freeze for Tuesday morning. And then here's one also for Wednesday morning. So you can share this blog with your friends and family. It's on my all my social media outlets. You can get access to it on the Facebook pages and on Gab. And let's see, here's was it Thursday morning? Yeah. So there you go. So till areas getting at or below freezing. These little blue areas in northern northwestern Oklahoma. So if you have any tender vegetation, you need to cover them up. But the good news is we do start to warm things up. So we're back into the 60s, 70s, and 80s from Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and Sunday. So finally, we're going to get that weekend on the right track here. I'm getting some nice, decent warm weather, and we'll keep the cool weather during the week with those cold mornings and those cool afternoons. So hopefully that was helpful for you. All right, so let me look through a couple of your comments, and then we'll turn you loose tonight. By the way, thanks again for the stars. I see you out there on Facebook world. Always appreciative of that. Threw some shout-outs for you, Bill. Appreciate you, sir. Who else? Kyle did so as well. David. And then we got Marky. All right, thank you very much. Darla, appreciate you. Let's see. Yeah, there's probably going to be some strong winds down along the Red River in those thunderstorms. Ron, thank you for the stars as well. I'll take a closer look at that here in a minute. Matthew, Tulsa's looking fine. It's no problem up there. And Eddie, you're kind of on the north fringe of anything really strong. Just kind of standard variety thunderstorms right now. So no, not Amber, not for severe for Tulsa. You guys don't have any instability. So, without instability, you can't really get severe weather. All right, so let's take a look down south before I cut you loose, since I did have some questions about what was going on with the wind field down here. Also, guys, on YouTube, I'm going to check, see your comments there in a minute. I'll come back to you in a second. All right, so let's go to, back if you guys are just joining me, the Tulsa area is just some rainfall up here. It's pulp and mounds, just light stuff. Occasional thunderstorm, in other words, occasional lightning strike with it, like this little patch here around St. Louis, little teeny tiny baby size hail with it around Maud. And then the better instability is down south, the Pauls Valley, where you see the red, some darker, heavier rainfall. But the strongest thunderstorm by far, and the only one here in the state of Oklahoma, is the one down here, just north of Ardmore, where it did have some hail with it. Looks like hail sizes are coming down. There's still some pink areas here along the I-35 corridor, which means they're still going to get a little bit of hail with it. But the probability of a tornado, which at one point was like around 60%, when I was looking at this data, is down to 20%. So in other words, the storm has ramped down in intensity. Once we get southwest of that, this guy here also a little bit of small hail, probably a little wind with it as well. And then we cross over Red River. And then we're back in North Texas, some activity down there. So let's take a look at these guys in a little bit more detail. So let's see. We'll use this guy first. All right. So yeah, there's that little white cluster of on Caldad Drive. That's where your hail is. Caldad Drive and Mount Vica Road on the northeast side of Springer. So if you got any big hail on that one, that's where it'd be located. It'd probably be an inch in diameter or slightly larger. Looking at the wind field, though, let me see if I can see any damaging winds still currently. It looks like the winds have all come down in intensity from that area, so that's good. So you're just looking at basically rain and a little bit of hail left over. All right, let me look down this area here from Orr and Courtney down here in far southern Oklahoma. So this is a little mid-level rotation, so that means some damaging winds probably around the Orr area. Let's see, 7,000 feet. They're about 65 miles per hour. So again, a severe thunderstorm warning criteria wind is 58. So it's right around that 60 mile per hour category, which is what I believe the warning wording was for that one. All right. Otherwise, like I said, a little bit of small hail with that one, and then back down here, the tail end for across Texas from between Ringgold and Nocona and Belcherville. Wonder how they came up with that name, right? Probability of a tornado is at 25% for this one. So on the low side. Looks like it has some broad mid-level rotation, very weak. Nothing strong or tightened up. No really central rotation centers. So, like I said, these thunderstorms continue to wind down. So any threat you're going to have for the remainder of the next couple of hours, unless it's a freak occurrence, is going to be your standard garden variety thunderstorm. A little bit of heavy rainfall, a little bit of lightning, small hail. There might be some isolated spots. You get hail a little bit larger, up to an inch, and then some pockets of wind. So that's par for the course, though. As far as any tornadic activity, there's nothing showing up in the data that's going to indicate anything imminent or anytime soon. Doesn't mean it can't happen. It's got a couple of hours left for that to occur. But right now, the look of this is going to be difficult because, if you'll notice, we're not looking at one cell. We're looking at a cluster. And once these things kind of get into this cluster look to them, it's very difficult to produce a tornado versus if they were by themselves individually. So it doesn't have a whole lot working for it if it's trying to do that. But you guys had asked down there, so I want to go ahead and check on it. Let's see. So I think hopefully that answered your question. Hopefully you're good to go with that information. All right. So let me go back here. And real quick, see if you guys on YouTube. Dave, by the way, I see the tip on YouTube. I appreciate you, sir. That is very kind of you. Let's see. Do you think SBC jumped the gun? SBC or the TV stations that went all crazy? So, no, I mean, when I did the forecast for you yesterday, I told you all the limiting factors as to what's not working in the favor of tornado genesis, and it's very difficult to get one to form. It's got to have perfect, perfect ingredients. So, it's funny is because showing the wife, I did this a long time ago. We're going way back 2014 for a live broadcast like this, describing the weather, how things are working and why. Then when I do lives for severe weather coverage, I'll tell you, the ins and outs. I do it all scientifically, right? So I show you a lot of different things that you're not used to seeing, or have not ever seen in the past. I show you a lot of cool stuff that we use on the science side to figure out what's going to happen. So that was kind of a new thing. All right. Well, and I noticed, the TV stations at some point finally started getting into the social media game as well after several years of, bashing me as the internet meteorologist. They got wise and realized, oh, that's not necessarily a negative thing. But anyway, we'll leave that aside. So what they do now is they do a split screen where they've got them on one side and they have the highlights for the day, the point of the broadcast, and then they repeat the same four maps over and over and over, which has no detail about anything. It's just a map that has a percentage chance of rain and a map of a model of thunderstorms and then temperatures and then repeat for 30 minutes, then sign off. And I was telling my wife, I was like, oh my gosh, I would die if that's all that I could get out of that. So this is what it is. So yeah, so I show you all the intricacies as to what goes into the ingredients in the cake that the atmosphere is trying to bake. And I'll say, hey, we don't have enough sugar. We don't have enough cinnamon. We don't have enough this. We got too much of that. And so I tell you all that stuff because A, it educates you. B, it calms you down, anxiety and your fears. And you realize that, oh, it's not going to be that big of a deal. All right? Now you flip that, and I guess today, and again, I don't know, I wasn't watching the guys on TV, but apparently a couple of them were losing it. They're going all nuts. So the forecast for western Oklahoma was limited. Cape values were very low. They were on the borderline of being substantial enough to even get a decent thunderstorm updraft and the dynamics to continue to evolve. Secondly, the shear out there also wasn't quite where it needed to be during the middle of the afternoon. Better shear was coming in the evening. So with that in mind, and you have lower dew point values out there around 50, and they were running into some rain-cooled air that we had in the morning. And I talked about all of this yesterday. You can go back and watch the video if you want. But all those are outline things that I mentioned so that that would be very difficult to get a tornado to form in that area. But even then, we also showed you what the Storm Prediction Center map had shown you. Even showed you what the AI computer model had forecasted for that area. In other words, the zone where a tornado could happen. Now, they were correct, and that was an area where they were going to try. And they did try. There was that one storm that almost made it, but it was just lacking the deep, low-level moisture. It's just very hard to get tornadoes when you have dew points in the 50s. It is working against you. I'm saying that can't happen. It can, but boy, is it very difficult. It's way easier to do it when you got dew points in the 60s. So that's a limiting factor. And this is location specific to Oklahoma. In other words, different parts of the country, different things you can get away with. Panhandle, for example, of Texas, you can probably get away with it. But here it's a different story. So anyway, bottom line is they were going to have a tough time doing so, and so that was the issue with that. And then the ones down south, why did they have a better opportunity? Well, because they came in later in the day, where the better shear had kicked in. Plus, they had dew point values that were into the mid 50s to upper 50s. So that's a big difference between a 50-degree dew point and a 57 or 58. That's a big difference for a storm ingestion. So that's why they had a better opportunity producing tornadoes down into northwest Texas around Wichita Falls and far southern Oklahoma. And even they were having a tough time. There were some multicellular characteristics going on. You end up having a meso with 2 circulation centers. So they weren't quite organized either down there. And that was just also lack of significant instability with Cape values. So there's a lot of limiting factors that we talk about here at AT's Weather. So that way you know exactly what's going on and why. So I know it takes extra time when you watch me to see that, understand it, but it's better than what I just gave you as the opposite, which is you watch the TV guy or girl that's doing the same 4 boring maps over and over and saying the same stuff over and over, and it has nothing of value when it comes to education as to what is actually happening that could prevent the storms from happening or keep the risk low, what ingredients are missing. That doesn't do anybody any service, in my opinion. So I don't like that approach. So that's why I don't do that. I think that's a waste of time. So I do it this way, but I understand your time's busy. You can't necessarily always watch it. But if you do, you'll get educated and you'll figure out what's actually going to happen in the atmosphere, and then you won't lose any sleep over it and you won't get worked up over it. But again, as far as when it comes to tornado coverage, I will try to cover those as best I can when I can. I can't always do it depending on where I am at, if I'm working my other job. But if that's the case, you can use my weather app. Obviously to seek shelter, it's free. Apple and Google Play. Just look for AT's Weather to go. You can watch the TV guys if you want. Just put them on mute. You put them on mute, that way you don't get worked up, right? So that would help you out. Let's see. Shauna, I just planted my flowers. Boy, that was a mistake. I hope you watched and saw the fact we got 3 freezes coming up. Help you protect them. Man, you know the rules. No planting before Easter. But anyway, so Tim's already asking about Easter. So the blog will take you through this upcoming weekend. And then after that, I did not go past that point. There is going to be a storm system that comes in. I think that's around April 2nd, maybe. We'll see if anything comes of that. Right now, the models are not all that excited about it. There seems to be a problem with getting a resurgence of adequate deep moisture from the Gulf. A lot of times, certain patterns can set up where we get too strong of a cold front and it clears things out too much all the way down the Gulf Coast, and then we don't get a chance to really rebound decent low-level moisture, like 60 dew points in the first part of a spring. So far it looks like March is going down that way. We'll see if April can change it, but right now that's the way it goes. But we do have some stronger fronts still coming in for the first part of April from Canada. There's a lot of cold air in Canada. They're still getting snow. They're still getting brutally cold air. Temperatures struggling to get above 0 sometimes. So they're still up there cold in Canada. So we still keep getting shots of those down here across the U.S. And that kind of puts the kibosh on severe weather until we can really start to warm things up later in our spring season. So that's what I got here for you long term. And then I'm going to have a lot of busy things to do for this coming week into the weekends. You may not hear much from me, but when I do get back on it, I will give you the forecast for the eclipse viewing. We're going to see how the weather looks, if it's worth just hopping in a car and driving east, southeast for about 2.5 hours, 2 hours, so you can get right into the track of it. So I told Jody, I said, you don't have to go and get a hotel somewhere. You can just hit the road, drive, do this, go, oh, it's crazy, it's amazing, wow, and then drive back home. So the roads may be jam-packed. I don't know about that part of it. It might be like storm chasing these days. But anyway, so we'll see what happens. for that in the eclipse, and I'll kind of keep you updated there. By the way, thank you, Debbie, for the stars. I see you sneaking those in there for tonight. And again, thank you guys for YouTube. All right, so that is it for now. Like I said, the storms, these last couple events, they're not what our typical severe weather season is like here in Oklahoma. So if you're new here, these are lame. Really, they are super lame. These are nothing. These are standard garden variety thunderstorms. The ones that really pack a punch usually come in late April, during the month of May, and then we kind of start to shut things off by mid-June. So if you're new here, it's a long ride, so just hang on. Just breathe. It's not that big of a deal in most cases. Just don't go out there and play in them, typically, and you'll be fine. Stay indoors, that kind of stuff. Just, common sense when it comes to weather. Sometimes I hear sometimes the storm chasers get really carried away because they're excited. They love weather. They're very passionate. Listen, they'll just say, boy, this storm doesn't look good at all. This looks dangerous. And I'm like, why is it dangerous? Well, because it has lightning with it. Why is it dangerous? Well, because it's a lot of rain. If you're playing in a creek, maybe you could have some flash flooding and carry away. But it's just a thunderstorm. It's kind of like, that's nothing for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm like an old man getting off my lawn type deal. But yeah, so that's why I don't get all excited over standard thunderstorms. They bore me. I like the ones that actually pack a punch, like the ones that are really to be concerned about, the ones that got some really big hail. I'm talking baseballs and bigger, those kind. The ones that have winds in excess of 70, 80, 90 miles per hour, those are the ones that do some damage. And of course, the ones that have tornadoes, those are the ones that I pay attention to. Those are the ones that can be life-threatening if you're not, paying attention. So that's where I put my effort on. That's where I put my focus on. The rest of that stuff, I call them garden variety thunderstorms in Oklahoma. All right, well, that's it for me. If you guys down in southern Oklahoma around Dotery, Sulphur, Springer, again, little pockets of wind and hail for the next couple of hours. That little cluster moves through, but otherwise they're behaving. But that's the place with that. All right, I'm out here. You guys have a great night. Enjoy your work week. Make sure you like and share this video. Tell your friends and family about AT's weather. Check out my blog. It's always there on every Sunday at AaronTuttleWeather.com. And you can always share that as well to get the forecast out. And we shall talk to you soon. All right, take care, everybody.